Today we have quite a different request. One of my friends wanted an animation that's just bad. The criteria should be cringy, bad, and essentially a waste of time for anybody that watches it. And I'm not sure how to go about that. It's going to be a new experience for me, and so I'm recording all of it as I try and figure out what I want to do, how I want to do it, and maybe you'll have fun watching this video. So let's begin. I have a storyline in mind, which is going to be a ghost trying to make eggs. So the first thing that I want to do is model the ghost. So I'm going to use a plain subdivision surface modifier to create the ghost, but I don't want it to be too good because again, it is supposed to be bad geometry. So we're going to go ahead and place this and this to just get a few loop cuts. I'll add one in like this as well, but we're going to keep this fairly low. Now I'll take the four corners and just pull and just drag them down. So let's GZ and pull it down. And that's my basic ghost shape. Now, of course, this does not look anything like a ghost, and we could have done it a lot better, but okay, the point is to try and make something cringe and bad. So I want to give the ghost two eyes, so I'm just going to scale this down to 0.3 maybe, or 2. No, we'll go with 3, and then we'll grab it on the x-axis and just move it in front, GY 0.5, I guess, okay, GZ, okay, and now just GY 0.25 minus, okay, that looks fair enough, S 0.5 again, because I think the eye was a bit too large. Now shift D, Y, and just move it by 0.5 in the negative direction, and there. Those will be the eyes for our ghost. Let's just grab them on the x-axis and move them in. Take this and press Ctrl J to make it a single object. Now, the ghost could have a mouth. I'm thinking whether I should just make a hole for it, but animating a mouth would be a lot more work than just not having a mouth. So I'm gonna think about that. But before that, I want to add in a wave modifier just to get some motion on the ghost. So let's just take a look at what this looks like. Okay, that's something, I guess. But again, the aim is to make this bad. So let's see. Let's just increase the width quite a bit and reduce the narrowness, or maybe I have to increase it. No, I have to reduce it. Let's just reduce that. And there, now we have a ghost. Okay, and this is how the ghost is going to continue moving at all points of time. Now let's go ahead and just set up the actual length of the animation. This is currently going at very few frames per second. It's not able to play it that well. I guess that's because we haven't applied the subdivision surface modifier, so let's actually just apply it, and that's okay. But let's go ahead and set our animation default. So I'm going to change the frame rate to 30 frames per second, change the output folder to wherever I stored this, and I have 2 scenes planned out for it. I don't know how I'll move about the different scenes. I guess I'll try and make it just a single animation. I want it to be around 30 seconds long, so if it is 30 seconds long, it'll be 30 into 30, so 900 frames, and that should be a 30-second long animation. Now, let's see what I do with this. The ghost has to decide whether it's cooking eggs by boiling them or by frying them. So I have to first create the eggs. Let's just call this cube ghost and enter, and let's just hide it for now. Then let's go ahead and create the eggs. So I'm just going to take a simple UV sphere, tap to go into edit mode, select the topmost point, press O to switch on proportional editing, 1 to go into the front view, and grab it on the z-axis and just move it up, and that will be our egg. So here's our egg. I'm going to keep it rough itself. I'm not going to shade it smooth because it has to be a bad animation. So let's call this egg. And now I'm going to go ahead and hide it and create the pan and the pot. So the pan is going to be to fry the eggs. So let's go ahead and create a cylinder, then scale it on the z-axis to 0.1 maybe, then tab to go into edit mode. Let's just select this top, I to inset, and then GZ, switch off proportional editing, GZ, and that should be our base pan. Now we have to give it a handle as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and extrude these out, E, and that should be our handle. Maybe give it some more character. Let's extrude it again and take all of these and just scale it up to create the actual handle. Okay, no, that's Alt E to extrude faces, Alt E to extrude faces along the normals, and then just do that, and that should be the handle of it. I think I want this to be even smaller, so I'm just going to select these two and scale it on the y-axis, scale on the x-axis, just reduce it, and there. This is our pan. Maybe a slight fold over here would be better, so I'll just add in a loop cut, move it here, and then go ahead and switch on transparency, box select all of these, and then make sure this is deselected. So box select all of these, G, Z, and move it up, GY, just rotate it a bit, and there. That is now our hand. Okay, I might have messed up. Yeah, I definitely messed up when I rotated it. I did not rotate. Oh, I rotated on the Y. I should have rotated it on the X. And there you go. Rotate on the X just a little bit there and there. This is our pan. So let's go ahead and label this as pan and hide it. And lastly, our pot. So our pot is going to be the same thing. We're just going to take a cylinder, scale it on the Z axis to about this size this time. Tab, then select our faces, top face, I to inset, then EZ, and just bring it down. Now we have to get a handle. So let's take this, let's eye that, and then scale it on the Z. Of course, now GZ, move it up. Now extrude it. I think it should be scaled on the Z a little bit more. And I'm assuming this could be a pot that you stir things in. Maybe you need another handle on the other side. I'm actually going to grab it down. Again, I don't have any references because I just want this to be so bad, and I don't think any references would help. It'll just help making it better than bad. So delete the faces, and there you go. Now I just need to mirror this to the other side. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch on X-ray, box select all of these faces, and then press Shift D, enter, change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, RZ 180, enter, tab. And there we have our pot. So we're going to call this as pot. Now to actually fry them or boil them, I'm going to require a stove or an induction chula. So I think just because it's going to be easier to model and I don't want to spend time on this, we're going to go ahead and create an induction chula. It'll also make it look a lot worse. So let's just scale it down, and there has to be some sort of spirals on this. So we're just going to use concentric circles. How we're going to do that is we're going to use a curve circle. We're going to grab it on the Z-axis and just move it up, scale it down. Of course, we're going to change from the 3D cursor to individual origins while we scale it down. Go to the curve properties, and under geometry, go ahead and give it a bevel. Reduce the resolution to like 1 if possible. Make sure that shade smooth is off. I don't know how we can do that. Yeah, so object shade flat, and there we have one concentric circle, and then just Shift D, enter, scale, reduce it, Shift D, enter, scale, reduce it. And that's our induction oven. So not oven, but in our induction cooker. So Control J. We can't join them because these are curves, so we have to convert all of these to meshes. Let's go ahead and object convert to mesh, and now we can select all of them and then Control J, and now we have our induction cooker. Okay, so I will have a voiceover recording for the ghost and everything for the storyline, but before that, I also want there to be text for people to read. So we're going to create that. So this is our ghost. Let's go ahead and start off with the texturing. Let's go into rendered view. Let's take our ghost and go to the materials. Let's just switch on bloom and also switch on screen space reflections, and underneath that switch on refraction as well. I want the ghost to be slightly transparent if that's possible. So let's see. Of course, our base color has to be completely white for our ghost, and we're going to go ahead and increase transmission, and under the settings down here, we're going to switch on screen space refractions and change the blend mode from opaque to alpha blend. So that is now our ghost. Let's go ahead and just increase the transmission and just see what it's looking like. So I don't like alpha blend, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use alpha hash. Alpha hash makes it a lot more grainy and you need to up the samples a lot, but again, the aim is to create a bad animation. I have to keep reminding myself that, and so this is what we currently have. All right, I think another thing that we can do is just start reducing the alpha quite a bit, and that'll make it a nice transparent like look. So now we also have to give the eyes its own material. So we're going to add in a new socket, press the new, and we're going to make the color just black. We'll also make it completely metallic and reduce the roughness to almost 0. But we have to select which objects get that. So we go into edit mode. We select both the eyes. They're already selected, but in case they weren't, it was just as simple as pressing L, and then we assign. And there, now we have our transparent ghost with the eyes, but the eyes are since the ghost is now see-through, the eyes behind the ghost can be seen, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and scale them on the x-axis to become fairly flat, and then grab them on the x-axis till they just pop out like that. And there. Okay, now the ghost just looks funny, let's say. Let's tab back into edit mode, scale it on the x-axis just a little bit to make them wider again, and tab back out. So yeah, okay, that looks better. So now there's our ghost. He's happy and jumping around. If you switch off overlays, this is what he currently looks like. And that means we require a lot more lights. So let's go ahead and change this from a point light to a sun lamp, reduce the strength of the sun lamp to something like 10. And now let's switch off overlays and look at what we have. That's much better. Now I want the sun lamp to come from the start, so I'm just going to go ahead and change the angle. Something like that looks much better in my opinion. Now we have a ghost, and he is floating, and he's slightly transparent. So to actually see the transparency, we'd like things at the back. But since this is a bad animation, let's just go ahead and create a surface for the ghost and everything to rest upon. So let's scale this up by 10. This is going to be the kitchen. So tab into edit mode, select these two edges, E, Z, grab them up, and there we go. Now let's add in the induction stove on a table. So let's add in a table. So let's tab back out to go into object mode, add in another cube. This is going to be our table. So let's grab it on the y-axis, move it there, GX, just place it at the end there, and then grab it on the Z, move it down. We can just take a look at where we're placing everything. That looks fair enough. It's floating slightly above, but I'm happy with that. So Control 3, and yeah, it's on the wall. That is going to be our table where the induction is going to be placed. So let's go ahead and switch on the induction cooker. Now let's take it and let's actually select this cube, go into edit mode, switch on overlay so that we can see what we're doing. Just select the top face and then press Shift S, cursor to selected. And now when we tab out and select our induction cooker, we can just Shift S, selection to cursor, and it moves there immediately, which is great. Next to this actual cooker, we will require something to place the pans on. So let's just Shift D, X, move it here. Now this can actually be stretched on the x-axis. So let's SX. Right now the light is flickering way too much, and that's because the samples are set to 16. So let's just put the samples at 0, switch off viewport denoising, and that is still creating quite a lot of jittering, and I don't want that. So I will go to the material preview to create all of the objects. Okay, so now we're going to place our eggs and our pots and pans over here. So let's just get our pot and pan. Let's take it and let's go here. Object, no, Shift, press tab to go into edit mode, Shift S, cursor to selected. So it's there on the top face. And now tab back out, select our pan, Shift S, selection to cursor. Now let's rotate it on the Z axis by 90 degrees and then scale it just a bit smaller. Maybe we can rotate on the Z axis by another 75 degrees or something. Yep. Then grab it on the Z and just move it up a bit. There you go. Now let's grab it on the Y or the X and just move it to the side. And then take the pan, scale it down, Shift S, selection to cursor, then grab it on the Z axis just to move it up. And there we go. Now we have our pot as well, our Z, and we have our pot and our pan. We have to place the eggs as well. So let's take the egg, scale it down as well, because yeah, of course the egg has to fit in the pan and the pot. Shift S, selection to cursor, and let's go ahead and just scale it even smaller. GX, move it here, GZ. Now we could have some place where we place the eggs, but again, not going to be creating that right now. Let's actually just make an array of these eggs. So add in an array modifier and make the factor offset -1.1 and increase it to that many. That looks good. GY. So generally eggs come in a pack of a dozen. So 6, add in a new array modifier. This time we're going to change the factor on the X to 0 and we're going to increase the Y to 1.1. And there we have our eggs. So now we have to give everything their own materials. So for the floor, I am going to go ahead and add in a new material. I'm going to call this as the floor. Now floors are generally tiled, so I'm just going to use a simple checker texture. So we'll change the surface from principled BSDF. Okay, we'll keep it as principled BSDF. We'll add in a new window over here, change this to the shader editor. We're going to tap N to close that, and we are going to add in a checker texture over here, and we're going to plug that into the base color. Now we don't want that on the walls, so what we'll do is we will add in a new material for the walls. We're going to call this as the walls, and we are going to tab to go into edit mode, select these two and choose the walls and assign it. Okay, now back to our floor. We're going to increase the scale to something like 15, maybe a bit more. Oh, okay, I think 30 is all right. Now we're going to keep color 1 as complete white. We're going to keep color 2 slightly brighter white, but we're also going to pass this through the bump. So let's search for a bump node, and we're going to plug this right into the height and the normal into the normal. And there we go. So now we have tiles on the floor that look like they're actually lifted up. The walls we're going to keep just as is. Maybe we can make them a bit more brown, I guess. Don't know. Let's switch off overlays and see what looks good. Yeah, a bit of this grayish wall looks fine. Let's go ahead and create the countertops. Now, again, countertops for these. Okay, let's give it a few shelves and things like that. Oh, so much of work to create even a bad animation. So weird. Anyway, let's Control R to add in just a few loop cuts. Maybe this many will do. Control R to add a loop cut there, maybe. Yeah, this should do. Now we have to convert these into drawers or whatever we want. So let's go ahead and take this. This is going to be a drawer. Let's just inset it a bit and GY out. Okay, maybe I can do the same for all of these so that we just have, okay, let's say we have 3 drawers here. So inset them and then GY, just move them out a bit. Now this is going to be a door. Let's assume that it's a door. Maybe both of these can be doors. So let's just select this and this, I together. There we go. And now rotate Z just a little bit, go to 7, and now GY, move it out till about there, and that is our door. If we actually switch off overlays, yeah, that's what it looks like. Fairly bad, but let's just continue to move on. Switch on overlays once again, and now do the same thing for this. So I, and then rotate Z just a bit, GY till it comes out, and GY a little bit more. There we go. So now we have our 2 doors, and that for our kitchen top. Maybe we can add in a thin drawer vertically as well. Don't know why I am doing this, but let's go ahead. Okay, now scale it on the X, just like that. Scale it on the Z down a bit, and GY, and there. Or what we'll do is we'll just do an extrusion and then scale that extrusion down a bit there. So now we have our drawers. Each of these require a handle, which I now remembered. So Shift A, we're going to go with a chorus. We're going to tab, switch on overlays. Oh, okay, oops. I had everything selected while creating this as well. I was in edit mode, so it's fine. It'll do. Double tap A to remove everything. Let's take this and X. Oh no, it's not going to. Let's hit L, P, separate by selection, tab. So now we have our loop. Now we can go to 7, switch on X-ray, and then press B, box select the entire right half, X, delete faces, and there we go. Now let's just go ahead and scale this down, rotate Z 90 degrees, minus 90 degrees, and let's see, EY, move it out, and there you go. That's our handle. Let's do the same thing for the other 3. So just Shift D, X, and move it to about there. Shift D, X, move it to about there. And instead of Shift D, we'll do Alt D so that we don't have to keep changing the materials. Alt D, X, move it there. Now this one's going to be Alt D, Y, or Z, and move it up. And now Alt D, Z down there, X, GX down there. Then rotate on the Y by 90 degrees. And now go to 7 and just place it where it's supposed to be. So I think that is a decent enough placement. Let's just G, Shift, C, move it to about there, rotate it on the C just like that, and that should be fine. Shift D, X, right about there, G, Y, move it there, R, C, rotate it like that, G, Shift, C, there you go. So now we have all of these. Now we need something for the induction tool as well. Just control, I guess a knob will be fine. Or maybe instead of an induction, we can consider this as a stove and add in bad fire. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. It'll make the animation worse. So let's go ahead and do that. For that, we need some sort of control here. So let's add in a mesh cylinder. Let's GY or X, move it here, and then just scale it down quite a bit. GY, move it here. Maybe let's take this and rotate it on, no, let's take this, rotate it on the X to about minus 35 degrees. And yeah, that should be our knob. Let's grab it on the local Z, move it down to about there. Tab to go into edit mode, select this, I to inset, and then E to extrude. Now let's use the knife tool to get out an extra curve. So let's press K, select this point, and then hit enter twice. Now press K again, take this to this, enter twice, and now select the middle face that we just now created, and then E, and there we have the knob. That's our control knob. Fairly large knob, but let's go ahead and use it. We can rotate this on its local Z, I believe, to get whatever desired animation we want. Okay, so till now we have a ghost, we have a floor, we have all of these things, but none of them have their own materials. So let's go ahead and start creating materials. For the floor, I want it to be a little bit glossy. So I'm just going to go ahead and reduce the roughness down quite a bit. Namespace reflections is switched on, so it should reflect everything. Let's just GZ and move this down to about there so that we get the reflections nicely. Now let's take this and give it its own material. This is going to be wooden, so the base color is going to be brown, but I want it to have its own noise texture involved. So let's just take a noise texture. Let's take color ramp, and now let's pass the noise texture color into the color ramp, and it's going to be a brown and a darker brown. So this brown along with an even dark brown, almost black. So yeah, that should be fine. Maybe we can lighten this one up a bit, make it a bit more towards the orangish section and lighten it up just a bit. Okay, press Ctrl T of the noise texture to get all of these. We'll switch it off to object, and let's take a look at what this currently looks at when we place this into the base color, and then we can go ahead and play with the settings. The scaling is going to happen on one of the axes just to make the lines look a lot thinner. So this is what it currently looks like. Let's just pull this in, and now let's go ahead and scale it on to Z. And I feel like right now it's just too reflective. Let's increase the roughness, and that's good, but I feel like the specular is coming in. That is nice. Yeah, let's go ahead and just reduce the roughness again. It was the specular that was most of the problem. But yeah, now all of these have to come down a bit. So let's go to Control 1 and GZ. Let's bring them down, and there we are. These two have to go even lower. See, there we go. So now this is our wooden material. Oh, all of our handles have to move as well. How we should have made all of these a single object. Anyway, GZ comes down. There we go. Let's give the handles their own material. So let's just add in a new material, make it just metallic, and there we have our handles. Don't think we have to worry about anything else. Maybe reduce the roughness a little bit, and there. Those are our handles. Now let's select our pan. Let's add in a new material, and there'll have to be at least 2 materials, maybe even more, but let's go ahead with 2 materials for now. Now this is going to be the actual pan base, and this is going to be the pan handle. We're actually going to need another one for the pan handle too as well. So let's go ahead and deal with it. Now all of these, so let's just go to 7 and then press C for circle select, and just select all of these. I believe transparency is on. If it's not, we'll switch it on. Yes, it is on. So oops, all of these are going to get the pan base material. So let's assign that, and let's see what pan base material is going to look like. It's basically going to be a black metal. So we're going to change the base color to black, and we're going to increase the metallicness all the way to 1, and that's our pan base. But we want the handle to be a much lighter metal, because that's generally what I have seen from experience. So circle select and just select all of these, give it pan handle and assign. Now this is going to be metallic, but it's going to be a lighter metal, so that should do. And again, our actual final pan handle should be something that we can hold, so generally a wooden color. So maybe instead of having it as pan handle 2, we can just choose the wooden texture on it, but we have to first select it. So C and just circle select all of those and hit the assign button. So there we have our pan, but instead of the wooden material, we'll just make a copy of it and change the colors up a little bit, because if we don't, it just becomes too hard to notice. So there, that is our first pan. We'll also change the scaling on the Z as well. This one can have this. All right, so that's our pan. Now we have to do the same thing for the pot. Ooh, let's call this as pot, and we're gonna have to make something for the handles as well. Pot and pot handles. Okay, so now let's see what we do for this. Of course, let's just press L, and that selects everything, and we have to just deselect this portion. So let's press C for circle select, and middle mouse button will deselect everything over here. Now let's invert it. So select invert selection, and let's choose the pot handles and assign. Now our pot handles can be some color. Let's see. Let's just make it a very rough white itself, or maybe black, but I feel like pot handles are black most of the time. So if we go out, yeah, I think that's fine. Now for our pot, we'll make this more metallic, and that should do. Reduce the roughness, and there. Now we have our metallic pot as well. So now we have to give the eggs their own material. We're going to call this as the egg material, and just increase the base color all the way to 1. And I think if we actually do object shade smooth, it'll look better, even though it's supposed to be a bad animation. I think shade smooth just works fine with the eggs. Now we can reduce the roughness a bit, maybe. Yeah, something like that looks good. Okay, now for the induction stove. All right. How do we do this? Induction stoves are generally black, so a new material, we're going to change the base color to black. There we go. And for the rings, we're going to make those a bright red, maybe. So let's just go ahead and press Ctrl I to invert the selection, add in a new material, assign, and now we're going to make these emissive red. So emissive red, emission strength 20, and there we go. Assign it. Press that and assign. So yeah, we can just reduce the saturation, maybe something like 0.96, and reduce this to like 10, and there. That's all right. Now this 45 degrees was looking good initially, but I realized animating that at 45 degrees, it's another step that we'll have to do. So I'll just do Alt R to clear its rotation, and then GZ, and it's going to be up here inside. So now, yeah, we're gonna have to get this bit more detail, or not. I think this is what it's going to be. So now let's actually start off the animation. So let's rotate this on the Z-axis 90 degrees so that it is looking. Now let's just grab it and move it down there. Move it up here. Okay, now we're going to start this off by the ghost looking at us and talking. And we're going to have the things in the background so that we can actually see the transparency of the ghost. Let's take our camera and let's just go with Ctrl-Alt-0 to snap it. Now GY, move it back. And now RZ to, whoops, let's press N, view, camera to view, and just shift it like this. And there we go. And camera to view, we'll switch that off, and we'll shift it in here. Okay, switch off overlays, and yeah, that's what the animation currently looks like. So we need text to appear next to him, and for that we need a text bubble. So let's go ahead and create a text bubble. So mesh, let's see how we want to do that. I'll use a circle. Let's go out of edit mode, Alt G to clear the location of the circle. Now I can't see it because everything is switched off. Tab to go into edit mode, F to fill it, and now let's just scale it on the y-axis, and let's come here, take one of these edges over here, and just grab it, I guess, and then scale it down, and that becomes our text bubble, I guess, in a way. Okay, that's what we'll do is we will take these two and scale them down as well. Okay, we're scaling up that, but yeah, that's a better shape. So now let's go ahead and rotate this somewhat like that. And what we can do is add in a constraint and have the constraint to copy the rotation of the camera. So that way it's going to always be pointed at the camera. Target is not the plane, but the target is the camera. Now let's just grab it on the Y and tab A, R, Y, just rotate it so that it's oriented properly. Take this one and just grab it till about there, scale it down even more, and there. So now this is our speech bubble, and it's going to have to be parented to our ghost. So let's just keep it about there, and yeah, let's grab it, and I think we can work with this for now. So at the start of the animation, the speech bubble is going to be at a size of 0, but we're just going to add in rotation location scale keyframe. We'll grab that and move that to about frame 30 so that it takes 1 second for it to grow up. I'm just going to scale it to 0, enter I, location rotation scale. So now it scales up and it's going to say whatever it wants. Okay, for the material, I'm going to actually make this an emissive white so that it's actually pure white and it just has a little bit of glow. For our ghost as well, I think we can actually increase the emission so that he glows. I don't know if that'll work with the transparency and stuff. Oops. For the material, let's go ahead and increase the emission and see what he looks like. And yeah, now he is see-through and he is glowing. But how see-through is he? Kind of see-through. What I'll do is I will just reduce alpha even more. So there we have it. Increase the emission strength and reduce the alpha. It's actually doing the same thing again and again. But yeah. So now this is going to be our ghost. He's talking. We'll keep each of the words to be there for a second, I guess. So it comes up at 30. The text will be there till about 90 or let's say 100. So it's there for 1 second. And the text has to keep changing as well. I'll get that done on a different software, I guess. I'll probably use some video editing software to add that in. And now that I think about it, I can use the video editing software to add the speech bubbles as well. I don't need the speech bubbles here at all, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove that. So let's just see how long he does each of the things. So he does this while he introduced that, okay, he's a ghost and he is going to create, or he's going to cook eggs today. Okay, so that shouldn't take too long. Let's assume that that takes 3 seconds or 4 seconds. So let's say 5 seconds at 150th frame. We're going to take our camera and we're going to tap I, location rotation scale. Let's shift D this all the way to 0 as well, so that when we smoothen out the keyframes later on, works. Now after that, he is going to ask us to zoom into the utensils that he has and food that he has. So we're going to take the camera and for the next 100 seconds, that means 3 seconds, we're just going to grab it on the Y, move it there, grab it on the X, move it here, then rotate on the Z, rotate on the X, and now rotate on the Y or the X. Okay. So let's point it downward and let's go ahead and grab it on the Z to about there and press GX. Yeah, I, location rotation scale. So now he moves and does that. So we need the ghost to also move to the side so that he can explain from there. So I'm going to take this ghost. I'm going to state I on the location rotation scale. And within the next 200, I'm going to rotate you on the Z so that you're facing your utensils because you have to see what you're cooking. I'm going to make you much smaller because you're a ghost, you can change in size. Then I'm going to grab you on the Z, grab GX, and just move you there. Oops, I forgot to add in the keyframe. Great. So scale down or Z, G, Y, GX, GZ, GY, and I, location rotation scale. So he comes there and there he is. Okay, I want my passport out to be 1 so that I don't see anything. There you go. And yeah, let's take a look. So there's ghost. Ghost goes there. And now the ghost starts explaining that he has this, this, and this. So I think this is a bit too high. So let me just grab it on the Z, move it down. This is where the speech bubble is going to appear. So GX, just so that he's in frame. And yeah, I, location rotation scale, and take this one and bring it over to 200. So now when you watch it, he goes there and there we are. So now he says he has a pan, he has a pot, so he can either, and he has eggs. He can fry the eggs or he can boil the eggs. If I choose to fry the eggs, I have to create a boiled egg. So a fried egg. Creating a boiled egg would look the exact same. It doesn't matter. Let's create a fried egg just for the sake of it. And what I'll do is for the eggs in the array modifier, I'll go ahead and decrease the count to 6 and I will duplicate this on the x-axis and just move it to about there. And I will remove the array modifiers from this so that we just have the eggs so that I can actually delete one of the eggs later on because he's going to take it and use it to actually cook. So let's just move it there, Shift D, Y, move that there, tap out. Okay, so this is the egg that he's going to use to cook. And he's also going to use the pot. And obviously he's a ghost, so he can't pick anything up. So he's going to use his telekinesis and he's going to have to mention that at some point in the story. So I have a pot, I have a pan, I have a pot, and I have an egg. should I make fried eggs or should I make boiled eggs? And I'll be like, oh, I don't have water, so I'm going to make some fried eggs. Okay, great. So by around 450 or frame 510, let's say frame 510, he decides to use the pot. So I think it's going to have to be a little bit longer than that because he has to explain that he has to use telekinesis because he can't pick up the pot. So there, I'll go to frame 560. That's another 3-4 seconds. Or let's just go to 600. So no, let's go to 560 itself. Maybe I'll make it 40 seconds long, so 1200 because there's quite a bit left. Let's go ahead, make the 600. Now press I on the camera, location, rotation, scale, I on our ghost, and now at frame 700, we're just gonna tap N, camera to view, zoom out, come this side, press I, location, rotation, scale, Control Z, select our camera, then zoom out, go this way, press I, location, rotation, scale, and maybe we'll move this a bit inward like that. By 720, we'll just zoom back into our induction just like this, and we will have our keyframe set such that our ghost can move in there by that time. Let's take this guy, let's just grab him on the X, move him there, I, location, rotation, scale, and in the middle, let's just G, Z, I, location, rotation, scale, come down here, G, Z, I, location, rotation, scale, and that'll have him have some sort of a ghost type movement, and there you go. Now he's here. The induction stove pan has to also fly up. So let's come here, take our pan, state I, location, rotation, scale. Now at about 650, or let's come to here. Let's just G, Z, and then G, X to about there. Press I, location, rotation, scale. Go down to about 750 and just take this, Shift S, cursor to selected. Take this, Shift S, selection to cursor, G, Z, it up to just about there, and then press I, location, rotation, scale. So now it looks like the pan was taken with telekinesis. Over here, what I'll do is I'll just rotate it on the Z-axis to about there so that it gives some more character to the telekinetic motion, and then it comes and is placed right about there. Okay, now we need the fire. Let's see. To create fire, I'm going to go ahead and just add in a plane. I'm going to rotate it on the x-axis like that, scale it down, and tab Control E, subdivide, increase the number of cuts to 20. Okay, and now I'm just going to take this O, G, Z, and lift this up like that. Take this G, Z, lift that up like that as well, and then go ahead and tab itself A, Shift D, R, Z, 90, and take this one, maybe grab it a bit like that, just to change things up a little bit here and there, and tap that out. Now go to materials, add in a new emissive fiery material that's also going to be like reddish orange and very hot emission. Now we're just going to scale it down, G, C, and let's switch off overlay so that we can see what it currently looks like. Okay, not good at all. S, Shift X. Okay, we'll keep it here itself. Take the pan, or we'll keep this, and we'll add a modifier, which is going to be a displacement modifier. New texture, let's go to texture, change it to clouds. Go ahead and see how the motion is. Okay, yeah. In the modifiers, this coordinate has to be object, and the object has to be an empty. So that's Shift A, empty, plane axis. Now, this plane axis has to keep moving on Z in the upper direction. So we're going to say hash frame by 10, and there we go. N, camera to view, N, remove that, and no, oh no, this is still not moving, although it should be moving, and that's because we haven't selected the empty over here. So yeah, now we have our fire being fire, and what we can do is for our actual induction, we can change this material to not be emissive at all. Okay, we can in fact make this base color fairly dark as well. Let's see what it currently looks like. There, that's perfect. Our base color for this will also be darker, and there, now we have our fire that switches on, but we don't want the fire to be seen initially. So let's see where all the fire is seen. Is the fire seen? Yeah, the fire is seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to go to frame 700, and I'm just going to grab it on the z-axis and move it down. I'm going to press I, location, rotation, scale, and by the time we come to frame 750. I'm just going to GC and move it up to about there, and then press I, location, rotation, scale. Maybe I can grab this and just move this a bit more to the side. There we go. So now it's frying. So now the egg has to come in. So let's see how that happens. Let's take this egg at frame 750. Let's press I. So I, location, rotation, scale, 800. It's going to go up. So let's go out of the camera view and just G, Shift Y like that. Press I, location, scale, go to 850. Then go ahead and take this, Shift S, selection, cursor to selected, take this, Shift S, selection to cursor, go back to our camera view, G, C, and just keep it a bit higher, I, location, rotation, scale. Now he has to actually crack this egg in half to get the yolk to come down. I do not want that. What I will do is I will say burst power, and it's just going to become an omelet. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. It's going to stay here, and it's going to disappear at frame 900. So at 900, I will say I, location, rotation, scale, and at 901, it'll become scale 0, enter I, location, rotation, scale. So that's just going to look like it, poof, disappear. And we need an omelet to appear underneath. If not an omelet, a fried egg. So let's create a fried egg. So Shift A, mesh. This time I'm going to use a cylinder and a UV sphere. So scale it on the Z, just bring it down, scale it down quite a bit. There you go. Again, we're going to have to add in a new material. That's my last worries. Under the modifiers, I'm going to add in a displacement modifier, and it's going to be a new displacement. In the texture, it's going to be a clouds texture, and that looks perfect for my omelet. Yep. So now we need not omelet, fried egg. So we're going to go into our edit mode, and we're going to press Shift A, or no, let it be another object that's parented. I have my reasons for that. So let's scale it down and then scale it on the Z-axis. This is going to be the yolk. So G, Z, right about there. Take this, Control P, set parent to object. And now we're going to take this, add in a new material. This one is going to be a yellow yolk. So about that looks fine. So there, now he has his fried egg that appears exactly when the egg disappears. So 90 at 901, this is going to state I, location, rotation, scale, and at 900, scale 0, enter I, location, rotation, scale. So that's what we have. The egg becomes a fried egg. So I also want to take a closer look at the fried egg. So the camera at frame 901 will state I, location, rotation, scale, and by the time we get to frame 160 or 960, we will switch on our camera to view and move it up. There you go. Just so that we have a closer look at the egg, because yeah, we spent so much of time modeling it. So I, location, rotation, scale, and yeah, so there we now have the egg, and we'll keep that till frame 1000. I, location, rotation, scale. At frame 1060, we'll take the camera back out and place him here. Let's take it and add in the keyframe. Let's take our ghost, grab him on the Y, just shift back. No, first make sure that we press I, location, rotation, scale, and move this back to frame 1000. And then frame 1060, just grab him on the Y, move back, grab him on the Z, and just place him there. Press I, location, rotation, scale, and then we say, okay, now it's time for me to eat. So frame 1060, we take this, we say I, location, rotation, scale. Frame 1100, it goes up like that. You just rotate it a bit, state I, location, rotation, scale. So it goes whoop, and then about frame 1030, he tries to eat it. So let's just put it in him. Let's have some sort of a rotation. Make sure that it is within the ghost. So just grab him and place him there. Grab him down. Hit I, location, rotation, scale. Let's just take a look at what happens. So it goes like that. Goes there, and right after this it falls splat on the ground. So we go there and we just go G, C on the ground, R, just so that it becomes flat. B, C, look there. I, location, rotation, scale. We will take our camera and move him as well. So at frame 130, take the camera, state I, location, rotation, scale, and over here we're just gonna do this, and zoom in. Okay, we'll zoom in on the egg first. So let's just do that. Set I, location, rotation, scale. Make this 1500 so that we have yet another 10 extra seconds. There goes. This one, I have to change the actual way it falls. So this has to speed up. So for the t, I'm going to have to say exponential so that it actually seems like it just falls. But I have to make sure that the camera actually sees it. So this I'll just shift it over to that. So there we go. Now the camera at 1250. Okay, we'll keep it there for like 1/2 of a second. We'll keep it for 1 second and then I'll smooth out the camera motion as well. So it'll become much lesser. And then here we just look back at the little ghosty who looks at us. We keep the fire still in view. Actually take this and just GZ that down a little bit. There you go. Take this GZ this as well. I haven't animated this rotation. Okay, we'll think about that. That's all right. But yeah, take our camera, eye, location, rotation, scale. Let's just press N, come to view, and just move this aside so that we see where our ghost buddy is. And now maybe till frame 250 he can remain there. We'll state eye, location, rotation, scale at 301. We'll just have him rotate Z to face the camera, and we'll also have him rotate on the Y, just like that. And we'll state eye, location, rotation, scale. So he turns and then he just moves forward, and then we'll have him move to the side as well. Let's go to 330, G, Y, he just moves, or Z, there we go, G, Z, there we go, I, location, rotation, scale, and he says, oh, I forgot. Okay, I just realized that the entire thing that my friend asked me to do was verticals for a reel. So I have to go ahead and change my resolution and see how much of this actually works and make all of those changes again. So yeah, remember, always make sure you have your settings proper right from the start. So let's select our camera and see how it goes. This is fine. I can have the speech bubble and something is seen even behind the ghost. That's all right. Now the ghost is completely out of view. So yeah, I'm gonna have to change this. Let's go to frame 250 and just press N, camera to view, just zoom back out. And yeah, I guess I'll keep it like this. I, location, rotation, scale, shift D this to about there. So now he stays there. Everything open about. Okay. I mean, this turn is fairly weird, but it is okay. It's all right. While we're over here, let's also animate this thing moving. So let's say the fire starts appearing about there. Let's come here. Let's rotate this on the Z-axis to about that, and then state I, location, rotation, scale, and the flame appears by then. So let's rotate on the Z-axis to there. I, location, rotation, scale. Now maybe he could be doing all of this with telekinesis, so we could have some sort of zaps happening. But yeah, too much of work. That'll start going into like good animation stuff. Okay, so this entire thing was to show the egg, but yeah, at this rate, it cannot be seen at all. So yeah, we're gonna have to change that. G, Y, smooth here, press I, location, rotation, scale, shift D, place that there. What just happened? Okay, I've placed it one frame ahead there. So now we place that, you see the egg, and then you go back, and the egg comes, and floop, it drops, and then the ghost goes like, aw, and then we come to the side. Okay, what we'll do is over here, eats it, it falls, and now we come back, great. But when we come back, let's not have it at a straight on view. Let's rotate it on the Z-axis to go about there. GY, move in there. Just move back a bit and rotate down like that a little bit. Maybe like this. Okay, this seems better. Okay, so now I, location, rotation, scale. So he comes there, comes to the camera. Okay, why does he move away? Well, it made sense back then. It does not make sense anymore. So he's not going to move away. X to the keyframes, and there. Now he's just going to be like, okay, I forgot. I'm a ghost. I can't eat. Oh no. Meet you in the next one. There. So 1,500. So 1,500 divided by 30 is 50 seconds long. Oof, that cut it so close to the 1 minute max mark that I had been given. So there we have our entire animation. I'm not going to add in anything else, and hopefully this was bad enough. If I switch off transparency, switch off overlays, you can see what it currently looks like. And yeah, all of this is happening. All that was happening in the render preview mode. You actually see it in the rendered mode. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this object, and under shadows, I'm just going to press none. So that way, that annoying shadow will not be created all the time. There, none. And now we can watch this. Okay, fine, something. But it's happening, blah, blah, blah. It's working all Alright, let's just take a look. Okay, it comes down, it goes there, the fire goes on, the egg comes, the egg goes, the egg turns into omelet. Let's make the playback to frame dropping, just so that we see the actual speed at which everything is happening. Yeah, the ghost does seem a bit too bouncy. I think I'm gonna go to the wave modifier and just change the time speed to 0.125. That becomes half as slow. Yeah, that looks a lot more ghosty. So yeah, if I could have the waves move and make it fatter a bit, that would have been better, but I guess I can't, so that's good enough. Yeah, he's floating. I'll have a nice speech bubble here. I'll have maybe some pointers pointing out what these stuff are. And then after that, he's gonna take the pan. He's gonna place the pan over there. Then the egg comes. Then the egg goes and becomes omelet. Now you have not an omelet, a fried egg. Keep making that mistake, but it's fine. Now he goes, he eats it, but then it just bloop, splats right out of him. And then he's like, oh no. And then, yeah, that's about it. He explains that he can't eat eggs, but see you in the next time. Yeah, I think that is all right. So with that, I'm gonna have to render this out, and you can watch the final video right now.
Hello, I am Mr. Ghost. I'm going to make myself some eggs to eat today. I have with me a fried pan with which I can make fried eggs, and I have a saucepan from which I can make boiled eggs. But today I'm going to use the fried pan to make fried eggs. Now I'm going to go and use my telekinetic powers to lift the fried pan and put it on the stove. And now I'm going to turn the stove high and take my egg and use my ghosty abilities to turn the egg into fried egg just like that. Now I have to actually eat the fried eggs, so I'm going to use my telekinetic powers to put the egg in me. And oh no, I forgot I'm a ghost. The egg falls right through me because I can't hold or touch anything. It's okay, I will see you in the next one.
I hope you learned something from this video, and it was more or less entertaining, but not entertaining, but you kind of get how people would go about creating videos like this. So I'll have normal tutorials up very soon, and until then, don't forget to stay creative.